All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly will I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be separated from suffering. Swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I We'll begin with the opening prayers on page 6. So we'll recite these in English. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly will I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddha. And the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mothers, sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. And to page 18. Unequaled refuge, ornament of the world. Your fame pervades the 3,000 worlds. You are the victor Vajradhara without a doubt. I bow at the feet of the Father Jigdan Sumgun. Continually I think of no one but you. Compassionate one, grant your blessings. Dispel the darkness that surrounds my heart. Please bless me so that I can realize the unelaborated nature of mine. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and the moon. As a Buddha field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. To the lamas who possess the 3 kayas, I offer the outer, inner, and secret offerings with my body, wealth, and all that is visible. Please grant me the supreme realization enlightenment. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offering, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. Om Guru Deva Dakini Ratna Mandala Pratitsa Soha. And page 21. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the disposition and likewise the mental capacities of sentient beings.
Tusum Sanje Tham Jejingo Rita Jingurjam de Jabda Karin Sundam Majaba Kazun Chijeja Bishop Judur to Mame Balongo Vera de Kosum Kubajim Begone Jan Zajan Daki Sumji Tham Jeju Shinjalam Javana Zeratam Jedo Tu Zavajim Begone Jesus One Zedo So Ange Shaso Tabe Mengo Kesan Zumbe Nara Yen Zumbe Su Sundo Saben Dokun Mike Duzu Juro To Jendama Kune Jurenjiti Sumje Kong Jabe Toambe Makabe Shabe Tren Dalo Yen Zoro Chon Rinchen Solen Peme Dombo Tere Jabanam Doran Zonen Zope Chinso Pete Yendi So Barbe Peman June Dalo Yen Zoro Chon Chenye Tungun Chikin Sipen Chinsi Jungo Rakwanshen Dokun Tsumen Mambasar Valoru Kune Nindo Juro Kodan Shitupa Mebe Chuen Kalan Zebak Nyambara Jona Pemara Jede Kune Geve Tsuke Chu Yero Pema Karbon Zumbeja Le Song Se Tongge Tawachi Ninkame Solorin Cho Zawe Yanchin Aga Prame Dai Chong Gumbolora Yandeva Tang Tomi Ni Sholang Chuje Ta Chuzun Shana Ni Pabo So Zamlen Jincho Namje Dai Chong Kare Tega Renchin Nimbingo Yuntin Kunyo Gawe Chizarto Nimbiten de Bebe Nanjuruba to me is the Chauja Dai Chong Seta Vishebo Shivala Nando Tupe Wansu Shaware Sama Pamjo Dongarandrumi Jimmy Chijawambe Dai Chong Riton Jambra Shune Shinlam De Kombalon La Pabete Jeto Lonto Chundu Jamzangawang Juruma Panjambe Anje Dai 中 강계달라 릭발로바당 Doji tenji menga jidin so la bada da wangur chen la pe nguju tenji la me da e chong yun ten sanji kun da nyam na yang karin sanji kun le la ping kun sawe la me shao la so wan da da son do lo na ju la ju kang da su ju tong gen ji ten na de shi lo mar ju ba kang su da Tendra tambe chuche chambe pe sembrandu ba tamje ndara shi shi namo ya tamba lai kedan lodan nujinke tumdada me kenam ruwa kenje dake chizamba tamje kedo chujang tuju che Okay, now we are going to start some teachings, of course. I'm very happy to be here today. And this is third time. First, the time I came here for the conference. Second time, the last year, and this is third time. You don't need it, right? Spontaneously. Oh, okay. So today we are going to talk about the Manjushri and giving empowerment in the Manjushri. As before that, I would like to basic instructions of the Dharma, foundation of the Dharma. Because if you don't know the foundation of the Dharma, then it's a little bit harder to receiving abhishekas, reading transmissions, and so forth. If you know foundation of the Dharma, then it makes sense. So Dharma is terms, Dharma is Sanskrit word, has 10 different meanings. And Dharma means truth. Dharma means phenomena. Dharma means scriptures, realizations. That's usually when you say receiving Dharma teachings or unpracticed Dharma. That's more related to the Dharma of scriptures, Dharma of realizations. And so, as the founder of Buddhism is Buddha Shakyamuni, you already know that. But we have to, as the Dharma practitioner, then we have to look the life of the Buddhas. Buddha Shakyamuni is an example of the great Dharma practitioner, right? So, if you look at the Buddha's life, then his teachings more relate to the compassion. And he doesn't have any other agenda to gain power or possess things, something. He's really teaching pure, it comes from pure compassion, love and compassion towards the sentient beings. And he already, if you look at Shakyamuni's life, what I'm saying, because if you study Dharma, then we have to back original. Then what we have to do, we have clear path. So Buddha's, the Siddhartha, he was born in a royal family. He has almost everything. Basically, wealth, power. His father once he's become a king, and also a good family, beautiful wife, kids, almost everything, kingdom. But that doesn't mean his life is perfect. His point of view, he's looking a little bit differently. There was a lot of war, a lot of conflict, caste systems, a lot the problems, particular birth, old age, sickness, death, these 4 problems. He's looking for illuminated these 4 sufferings. He's trying to find answer. Even if he stay, this is how originated the Dharma teachings. Even if he stay in the palace, perfect conditions, but it doesn't mean that he is not beyond of the suffering and other people. So he took some we call it spiritual journey, spiritual path that the end of the suffering. And then he meditated for 6 years. He found answers that we have to know natural reality, particular natural mind. That's where we can end of the suffering. We don't have to look at outside of something, but we have to more pay attention in the inside of one's own mind. Particularly, we have to recognize one's innate nature, natural mind. That is the answer. And then he, at this point, after the 6 years, he was meditated, then he was enlightened. And after that, and he taught over 45 years. Those teachings is we call the Dharma scriptures. When we practice Dharma, we have to study those teachings. Of course, we don't have time to study all his teachings because over 100 volumes. It's huge. All his teachings, not always his teaching, but a lot his disciples have questions, and then he answered and so forth. Just as we call it kanjur right now in the Tibetan words. Ka means Buddha's teaching, jur means translated into Tibetan from the Sanskrit language. That we believe that Buddha, he spoke 2 languages, Pali and Sanskrit. Pali traditions, then Theravadan school of Buddhism. This comes from the Pali traditions, and then Sanskrit traditions, Tibetan Buddhism, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, all this mainly relate to the Sanskrit traditions. Over the 7th century to is now, their great translators translated, we call it kanjur, or collection of the Buddhist teachings. Now we have over 100 volumes. Those Dharma scriptures. Then we do have called Tenjur. Tenjur means commentary on the Buddhist teachings, over 200 volumes. Those is important. We have to study. When we say, as a Dharma practitioner, of course we don't have time to read these whole teachings, but like example, Shantideva's way of Bodhisattva's conduct, or way of Bodhisattva's life is example. Then those whole Buddhist teachings, synthesizing, putting in one text, saying that truth, like bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta, absolute bodhicitta, or emptiness, or sometimes they're describing relative truth and absolute truth, the synthesizing of 2 subjects, or in here teaching saying that bodhicitta and emptiness. Those we have to understand, right? Dharma of scriptures, we have to a little bit study. Dharma of realization, we have to understand one's innate nature, natural mind, and also within there, we have a lot positive qualities, love and compassion, faith. So those is positive mental states we have to develop. If we have that, then that's we call Dharma realization. We realize natural reality. So, yeah, that's then I think you already heard relate to the receiving Dharma teachings. We have to cultivate it, the bodhichitta. That's the Mahayana Buddhism teachings. It's a very important concept of the Dharma. Bodhichitta, bodhichitta, bodhichitta. Bodhi means enlightenment. Chitta sometimes relate to the heart. Sometimes it's translated into chitta means mind. Enlightened mind or awaken the heart. And there are several reasons why we have to cultivate it, bodhicitta. And here, Buddha's great bodhisattvas look at in the samsara, that we are living in the samsara. Our body and our mind, and all environment, inhabitants, everything we call the samsara. Samsara, as long as we are living in this world, mainly, we have troubles. Some troubles or suffering, dissatisfied, relate to the physical. Some their troubles relate to the mind. And usually, if you think about it, and the one's own mind, mainly motivated in self-motivation. Or I want to something, I want, relate to the me and the mind, something. And Mahayana Buddhism point of view, we already did this from beginningless time until now. We have that patterns we did in the past, continuing this kind of self-motivation. This is the troubles. It's true, if you very carefully think about it in one's own mind, then always some sort of concern in self. When you're concerned about in the self, then you have hope, you have fear. I'm not saying, oh, we don't have, abandoned hope and fear or something. But we already have a lot of these things. It's nothing wrong, relative point of view, that's as human beings. And also, this kind of patterns, unnecessary things that we are holding on. It makes lots of troubles. Those things we can eliminate it through using the Buddha's teachings. The one is, I want to point for you, is that bodhicitta. Because every Mahayana teachings of the Buddha Dharma saying that you have to have cultivated bodhicitta, good motivation. Motivations lead our speech. Motivations lead our actions. Almost in whole our lives relate to the motivation. If you have good motivation, likely your life is got that directions. When you come into the Dharma center, then the motivation is that, oh, I want to learn from the Dharma. Something. Usually we don't learn those things in the general, place. But you can learn from the Dharmic point of view of reality, then that you can bring into your daily place, activities, to transform into the Dharmic path. So the motivation here is that bodhichitta. We have to think about it, what we are receiving. Your point of view is receiving some teachings from me. My point of view is that I'm giving some teachings, what I know, what I live in it, in the Dharmic world, since my childhood. And I had been many years as a Dharma practitioner, as teacher, as a Buddhist, as a monk. I have some experience. So my motivation is that I want to give those teachings. It's a very helpful, different way of looking reality in our life. Of course, this is not just as my ideas. We always refer to as the great Buddha Shakyamuni and Pema Sambhava and others, the great masters. They're basically the same thing. They're talking about natural reality, all teachers. And all Shantarakshita, Marpa, Mala, and all Longchenpa, Maparamache, these all great teachers. It's just that when they teach something, it's reality is just reality, right? There is no difference. But here, bodhicitta is the same thing. One who cultivated bodhicitta, one who has bodhicitta, then just same thing. There is no difference, bodhicitta. Here, what I'm saying, bodhicitta is that motivation that's not just free from suffering and self. Oh, I have physical problem, I have mental problem, I have job problems, family problems, lots of things. Or I want to avoid this, therefore I'm just sit, meditate or practice or relate to some Dharma activities. If you do that, there's nothing wrong. That's what we call sub-motivation. It's nothing wrong. It's better than any other thoughts. But Mahayana Buddhist point of view, this is not the best one. We have to focus more others than self. I give the few reasons. Every sentient beings, if you're seeing, hearing in this world, so one wants happiness. Different way of describing happiness, but everybody wants happiness. Nobody wants suffering, the troubles. So, if we think about it, or just only me, then our mind is very narrow-minded, just only thinking about one person's situation. If you achieve the happiness, something, then just one person's happiness. It's not much. Our mind is very narrow-minded. And if you're free from suffering, one person, it's not much. Limitless sentient beings, like in this world right now, they're saying that 7 billion people, compared to the 7 billion people, one person is small, right? So if we're thinking about just only oneself, then this kind of mind is narrow-minded. And then thinking about whole sentient beings, limitless sentient beings free from suffering, achieve happiness. If all sentient beings free from suffering, then your mind is already vast and big. Mind itself doesn't have big or small. We can say mind big or small is object of mind, focal point of mind. When we say all sentient beings, then our mind is vast and big. So, and someone achieve happiness. Happiness, two kinds of happiness. I think one that's related to the temporary happiness, we call it temporary. Usually when we hungry and eat something, it makes comfort. That's we call it happiness. If you're cold and you have heat and warm clothing, then it makes this happiness. Or what you want, you get something, it makes comfort. Those is we call it temporary happiness. Doing well something, just be happy. This is what we call the temporary happiness. It's not stay always there. Then when we practice Dharma, we have to cultivate it, ultimate happiness. This is what we call enlightenment. The Buddha is looking that kind of, the final, ultimate happiness, always perfect in this mental state. That is the goal, basically, and when we practice Dharma. The goal is that reduce one's karma and kleshas, that is make troubles. This is karma and kleshas, the cause of suffering. Reduce karma and kleshas, the one's innate natural mind is perfect Buddha. We have to manifest completely, manifest. If someone realizes that state, being with it, then it's perfect. That is the goal. If someone stays there, that state, that person doesn't have stress, that person doesn't have any mental troubles. Usually we have a complete joy and fine, happy. That's why many great Dharma practitioners stay in the caves, live alone. That person doesn't feel loneliness. That person doesn't have disconnected. It's completely just perfectly fine. Peace, the peace and completely enjoying. Those enjoy a perfect state. It's not outside of self. It's within us. It's always us. Just we have to recognize. If someone recognizes, that is Dharma realization. Dharma scriptures, Buddha's teachings, all talking about how we can realize that state. Then many levels of the teachings, method, saying that, there are lots of methods in order to recognize one's innate nature. Today, this kind of, we have to cultivate it. Just using terms of Dharma of scriptures, that we have to study. Otherwise, it's really hard to understand without study, without good instructions from receiving teachings. It's very hard to understand, even if the phenomena troubles with us. The phenomena, always we are dealing with it, but it's very hard to understand. We have to study from the great masters and particular great teachings. Like a Gawang example, lots of love and compassion. So his mind and body all ready, some sort of, embodied of the love and compassion. And those love and kindness and compassion, and realize as emptiness, example, emptiness of one's mind, then that person is to feel joy and relax, not tight or holding on. Peace and joy, and become comfortable being yourself. That's what we call the Dharma of realization. We have to go further details, Dharma of realizations, then have to go to the four seals of the Dharmas, some particular emptiness or sublessness. It has point, it has power to dissolve one's own karma and kleshas. So we have a little bit Abhisheka, blessing, Abhisheka, right? Manjushri. This I'm going to teach praise to the Noble Manjushri, known as glorious wisdoms, excellent qualities. Before that, I would like to talk about it. Maybe, do you have it? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. So, I think later. I would like to talk about background of these teachings. I received those teachings, a great master of the past. And we, as this Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist, we believe that some lineage blessings. I think it exists, the lineage blessings, reading transmission, and this lineage is very important. If just, when I was in Tibet, so my area, as their great Dzogchen yogi, his name called Tsemgun. It's Tibetan, right? Tsemgun. He's really extraordinary teacher. He passed away. Of course, when I saw him, he's very old. And I went with my friend. I saw twice him. It's not really far from where I grew up. It's like 3 or 4 hours away, just walking distance. And he stay in the family style, he's a yogi. And when I went to visit to him. It's a spring. It's like March, May, something like. And at that time, because in Tibet, maybe you're interested if you've never been there, and they're taking, sometimes we call it grass, cordyceps. It's very expensive. They're living with this grass taking and selling. It's one of their income. At that time, everybody's go to the mountains taking this grass. One of my friends, we are staying in the village, so usually the teacher, the Semgun, was very busy because local people want to receive blessings. He's not teaching a lot. The people come to him asking divinations and the blessings, so forth. At that time, we took one of my friends and a visit to him. He was sitting in the second floor. So he has long hair, of course. It's not in the top of his head. And he's blind. He didn't see. But he has long fingernails. These three, right? Almost touching each other like this size. He's not cutting the fingernails, he's not cutting the hairs. That's just the way of just keeping pure smile or something. And so he is really powerful. He's a great teacher. And so we ask some divinations. He does, usually do. And there, we call it show. There's some, I don't know this name. Do you know? Who knows? They put it, the small boxes has, yeah, it's a part of divination. They have 3 eyes and 9 eyes. But anyway, it's a small 2 boxes, and then put it onto some containers, and look at it there. If 3 eyes or 9 eyes, then he predicted in the future. He couldn't see it. He asked to his wife, and he comes. He said, "Oh, now they have 3 eyes. Now they have 9 eyes, something like that." Then he can say, "Oh, then, you have to do these factors or whatever." Give the very some advice to you. A lot of local people believe him. What he predicted is correct. And yeah, I received at that time these teachings. Of course, I received other teachers too, but it's very special for him, this giving instructions. These great teachers. So reading, transmission, and pointing out instructions relate to these teachings. I received a great teacher. So that's it's a story of receiving these teachings. And then this particular prayer to the Manjushri, when I was in South India, we practice this almost every day, every morning, afternoon, and evening. As the students of the Dharma, we have to have some, we call it prajna, the sharp faculties. We believe that if you pray to the Manjushri, then you'll become much sharper, more easy to understand what you study. We do chanting these 3 times when we start classes. Beginning, sometimes 3 times, sometimes 1 time. every time, every section of the class, we chanted this. Teachers, students together, we chanting this, classes, this text. So you see, this is a part of Shastra. It's not the actual Buddha's teachings. As you see, Kanjur and Tenjur, I mentioned Kanjur is Buddha's teachings, right? Translated into Tibetan. Tenjur is his commentaries on the Buddha's teachings. This is part of Tenjur. And the Tenjur is mainly all Indian Greek Pandits wrote it and then later translated into Tibetan. So here, the title of this text is Sanskrit first, saying that Shirajana Gunapala Nama Tutti Satuti Purketo Pariyishi Yuntin Shambhushishabatoba. Praise to Noble Manjushri, known as the glorious wisdom, excellent qualities. And this you see the Bai Topun Doji Chunchen says Acharya Veja Yuddha or Vajar Yuha. This is, we have two ways of explain author of this text. The one we said that in the Nalanda, I think it's at Nalanda University, the abbot asked to students, saying that everybody write praise to the Manjushri and then bring back tomorrow. It's some sort of homework. As then they wrote praise to Manjushri, everybody wrote it exactly same. 5 Pandits wrote it exactly same praise to the Manjushri. And then they thought, this is a blessing by Manjushri, that's why it turned out exactly same, the praise. They give the name glorious wisdoms, excellent qualities. This is the title of the abbot of the Nalanda. One that says the Acharya here, do you see the name? And the other says this is composed by the 500 Pandits together. That's why it's very powerful. It's blessed by the Manjushri. As all traditions of Tibetan Buddhism is chanting this. Chumdin de Jambayang Chatsalo. If you have any questions, please interrupt me. It's fine. You just raise your hands, and if you have questions. Sometimes when someone's talking, then you have questions. If you hold it a little while, then disappear. That's how thoughts goes, right? Comes, goes. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I can answer any of your questions. If I know it, other than that, I just give a little bit instructions, then later we can do Abhisheka. Abhisheka is mainly, those we have to understand the meanings. And Abhisheka is some sort of plant the seed, revealing that we already have some sort of seed and revealing through some substance of blessings. It's mainly Abhishekas we have to understand those meanings of the the Manjushri. What does it mean, Manjushri? As Manjushri is that embodiment of all Buddha's wisdom. And wisdom, all Buddha's wisdom appears as a bodhisattva. Oh, yeah, maybe you can give it this. Yeah, we have here, you see. Yeah, appears as Manjushri has one face, two arms, left hand hold Opala flower, and in the text is a Pajana Paramata text. And his right hand hold sword. It's just symbolic of cutting the ignorance. And then the jewel and silk ornaments. This, you can see this. This usually we visualize like this, in front of you, then praising as this, what they give you, praise to the noble Manjushri. So the Manjushri, there are two ways we can describe. One is that Manjushri is a level of the enlightened being, like a Buddha. Sometimes Buddha appears as a bodhisattva to help sentient beings. Bodhisattva is a Buddha appears as the bodhisattva, 10th level of bodhisattva. If you know that we have lots of Burmese. First Burmese. Burmese is terms the level of realizations, level of understanding, innate nature, the qualities. Then first Burmese, second Burmese, third Burmese, at the 10th Burmese. After the 10th, then enlightened being. End of the 10th Burmese is the enlightenment, like Shakyamuni Buddha. The Manjushri, they're one way we can describe as enlightened being, like Shakyamuni Buddha. Another way we're describing is that bodhisattva. It's not really contradict. Buddhas, some Buddhas appears as a bodhisattva, some Buddhas appears as statues and text, and in order to help the sentient beings, right? Whatever their form is more benefit than they appears that way. So bodhisattva is usually 10th Burmese of level of bodhisattva. When you say we take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, in the Sangha, then Manjushri is a level of Sangha, noble Sangha. Noble means one who is really understand innate nature minds. That makes noble being. And so then another, this is not ordinary just being, the wisdom. Wisdom, all Buddha's wisdom appears as the bodhisattva. That's why the wisdom, if we invoke wisdom and praise to the wisdom, then our wisdom is increasing. It's some sort of relate to the wisdom, prajna, wisdom. So that's about Manjushri. Then Chumdin de Jambayang Chatsalo. I just read in the Tibetan, then also read it in English. Give it a little bit short. The commentaries homage to the Bhagavan, the Lord Protector Manjushri. Sure, please. Bodhisattva. Yeah, Sangha, noble Sangha. Yeah, Manjushri Bodhisattva. Sangha, that's right. Yeah, Bodhisattva Sangha, Arya Bodhisattva. Sometimes the Sangha is like us, we call it Sangha, right? Communities. This is a real when we take a refuge in the Sangha, means noble Sangha, means Bodhisattva, noble being. Like Tara, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, one who transcends of the samsara. Yeah, you're welcome. So, yeah, here, the homage to the Bhagavan, Lord Protector Manjushri. Here, what we have to know, this is some relate to the story of the translators. This is translators' homage. It's not original text. And all Tibetans, when they translated from Sanskrit into Tibetan, before the 9th century, King Tuzong Detsen, the Dharma king, was there the homage to everywhere. If you want to homage to the Buddha, if you want to homage to the Bajafani, whatever the translators wish, they don't have any rules. And later, then all independent, we call 108 independent, 108 translators gathered in Samya monastery. They made rules. Oh, we have, if the text related to the Vinaya, the three baskets, right? Vinaya, Sutta, and Abhidharma. Vinaya is talking about cause and fate, detailed karma and result. The detailed karma and result only knowing by Buddha. Even bodhisattvas is very hard to discover, like billions, trillions years past and futures. But that's someone who doesn't have any obscurations. Mind is complete and awakened. It's omniscient, knowing by Buddha. So therefore, if there's some text, it's a Vinaya or relate to the Vinaya, then the made homage to the Buddha. Homage to the Buddha. And other texts, like Abhidharma. Abhidharma has lots of categories, detailed teachings. Form, feeling, perception, formation, 18 dhatus, 12 nadanas, a lot. The physical things and the mental. That sense that, oh, this is related to the wisdom, knowledge. The knowledge is related to the Manjushri. They made homage to the Manjushri. You see here, Bhagavan, the Manjushri, right? You can tell all the teachings are similar. If you look at in the Tibetan, the translator from India to in the Tibetan, they have beginning homage. So what we know here is that these teachings relate to the Abhidharma. This praise to Manjushri, this text relate to the Abhidharma. We can just immediately recognize, this is category of Abhidharma. And the suttas, and then said, homage to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Sutta, the collection of the Buddha's teachings. Not only Buddha himself is giving teachings, They're bodhisattvas like Avalokiteshvara, the Shariputra, and so forth. They just have lots of questions that the Buddha's answering. Dialogue within bodhisattvas, or sometimes Buddhas and bodhisattvas. So they said that, oh, if there's something related to the category of and then homage to Buddha's bodhisattvas. So one, we call it recognition, the homage for the recognition of the text. So that's one reason why they put it in here, homage. And other is that if we do something, then without any obstacles arising, we have to have merit. If someone who has lots of merit, that person, what they wish is easily accomplished something. And the author of this text make a homage, or translator, here is a translator of this text, homage to the Manjushri, that person's accumulated the merit. Merit eliminated their obstacles to translate this text. So there are two reasons of the homage to the Manjushri here. One is they're accumulating the merit, other is recognition of the text. Yeah. Title. Oh, no, this. Okay. Manjushri, this is a title. Basically, it's the name of the abbot of the Nalanda. And Manjushri is more related to qualities and activity. All bodhisattvas is related to all.
Is there also a way to identify who the translator was from the volume that was translated?
The translator is, we have in the Tibetan here, I think English is not, let's see.
I don't mean like who you use, but from the original text.
Yeah, that's right. The independent, in Tibetan, I don't know, Bontasumba, 300,000, the title of the translator's name. And then Tibetan translators, Ngo Lotsawa, translator of Ngo, they translated together. Or always they work together, one independent and one Tibetan translators. This is really, it's very important. If they work together, less make mistakes. Yeah. That's true. Translators. It's a translator, this text. Okay. So, this is a explanation, right? Homage to the Manjushri. Then, if you, if you're bored, then let me know. I can just make a shortcut teachings. I don't want to Bored? Anybody? Okay. This is a homage. That's, some we have to have meritorious activities, praising, and other the chanting and meditating. Even it's not related to direct understanding one's innate nature, but it's indirectly related. This to understand the nature of reality. It's not that boom, simple. We have to have lots of merit. When we do understand it, then it is some sort of simple. But to get it there, that we have to have merit. That we are accumulating some sort of cause and conditions. So, yeah. I'm just giving a little bit instructions, right? Instruction. At the same time, reading transmission, you can get a reading transmission that I received from the Temgun, is a great Dokyi master. Yeah, he's a very special teachers. If you have reading transmissions, we believe that if you study or pray to the Manjushri, then you have, again, a lot of merit easily without a reading transmission. Your wisdom, free from cloth of the two obscurations, is pure and brilliant like the sun. The Manjushri is their relative Manjushri and absolute Manjushri. And always they're describing the Buddha's deities, if you practice deities, as the Vajrayana receiving Abhisheka as deities. They describe it two ways: relative, the Buddha, and the absolute point of view of Buddhas. Absolute point of view of Buddhas, then fundamental nature of reality. There is no difference, any. Buddha Shakyamuni, Samindabhara, and Vajakalaya, Vajayogini, Chara Sambara, any. There is no any difference. There is a one phenomena. It's not really a phenomena, it transcends of the phenomena. Sometimes you can hear one taste. That level, everything is just perfect. It's just one taste, oneness. That is the ultimate, the Manjushri. That is one's innate nature. We already have ultimate Manjushri. And then symbolic Manjushri or relative Manjushri, what we are just talking about, has form. And here, Manjushri as Buddha, your wisdom is free from clothes. Sun and clothes, a lot of teachings, they're using examples, sun and clothes. Sun's point of view, or the high level of the space, sun is never ever obscured by the clothes. It's clothes for us. Sometimes the sun's shining, sometimes not. If you just fly a little bit above the clouds, there's no clouds. Similar, fundamental of one's own mind, ultimate Manjushri, is free from two obscurations. It's like a sun, right? And the relative level of Manjushri, like a Buddha, for example, then they're also free from two obscurations. We are taking the Bodhisattva level, or Buddha's level of Manjushri. As I mentioned, Manjushri is the embodiment of all wisdom of the Buddhas, right? That wisdom is that free from two obscurations. Two obscuration, when we have angry, we have frustrated, we have jealous, envy, those is we call obscuration of kleshas. Someone who has this, then we are still in the samsara. We are not transcend of the samsara. The Manjushri doesn't have that kind of me in the mind. If someone says bad words, we are angry or frustrated, envy, jealous, so forth. Manjushri doesn't have any of these things. And also, obscuration of cognitive obscuration. Cognitive obscuration is that still some cognitive obscuration is part of virtuous activities. For example, when we practice generosity, we have dualistic mind, oh, I'm the giver, I'm giving these things to the needy receivers. If we are doing this through this concept, right? We have a little bit grasping concept. It's of course part of virtuous activity, but still, it's obscurations. When we go nirvana, ultimate peace, to realize fundamental nature of one's own mind, then it transcends that state. Dualistic part of mind transcends. So, the two obscurations, free from two obscurations.
So that's when they say when there's no giver, and there's really no receiver.
Yeah, we have to have that kind of view. If we are really practicing prajna, paramita of generosity, then there is no giver, there is no giving, there is no receivers, but at the same time, it's just like illusion, right? Dream. Not truly existence, but just giving it without any expectations to returning something. It's the best way of giving it. If you give something, then hoping in the future to get something, it's nothing wrong, but it's not the best, according to the Dharma teachings. Giving without any expectation is the best. Yeah, please. Yeah, that's right. Brave warrior, bodhisattva. Bodhisattva, in the translated into Tibetan, is that Sampa. Sampa is one who has very big heart, a big mind. And it's that mind that's beginning be taught a little bit about bodhichitta, right? Bodhichitta's mind saying that I'm the one who liberated all sentient beings free from suffering. As long as the sentient beings exist in this world, I will remain in this world to serve the sentient beings. So that kind of mind, usually we don't have it. Someone who has that kind of then warrior and the brave warriors as a being. Protector. We call it protector. Take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, Manjushri. The Manjushri protect you from the suffering and the samsara. Yeah. Okay. Then Jinny doing Jihisi Sen, you took out Livam Zen. And here's a praising to Manjushri. We have praising by mind, then speech and body. Right now it's mind, wisdom. We are praising Manjushri's wisdom. Okay. Symbolize knowing the meaning of all phenomena just as it is. You hold the scripture at your heart. The scripture, Manjushri is holding scripture, you see here, right? Yeah, photo. Left hand holding scripture is Prajna Paramata. Prajna Paramata scriptures. And is symbolizing the knowing the meaning of all phenomena just as it is. Just as it is, two ways. One is way things appears in this phenomena. The one is that way things are. In the many teachings, they describe the two categories, relative truth and absolute truth. Relative truth is that what we are seeing, hearing, tasting, this is relative truth. And this is it's not related to the way things are. It's the way things appears for us. What we perceive is not the way things appears as animals. It's not the way things appears like other beings. From Buddhism, believe there are 6 categories of sentient beings. God realms, jealous God realms. That's usually we don't see it. Then human, we are the human beings. And we are close to the animals. We see animals. We don't see hungry ghosts. We don't see the hell beings. But in the Dharma teaching said that where things appears, every sentient being has different opinions. Why then we see these like red, blue, and shapes, colors? It's more related to the, one's own faculties, eyes, ears, nose, tongues, faculties, and also mind. It's not according to the way things are. It's more related to the one's own opinions. And that's you can tell when you are happy, successful, good fortune occur in your life, then world is alive. When you have lots of obstacles and troubles, then the world is shut down. You can feel it. That's in the Dharma teaching said it's not related to there. It's more related to the here. If you want to transform the world, then we have to transfer in self, in the mind. It's more related to the mind. And relate to these, then we have what we have to understand is that the pure realms. Someone's completely purified karma and kleshas, then their perception is different than just filled with the karma and kleshas. That's where things appears. It's not always where things are. where things appears. So like me and you, we have all similar human faculties, human mind, that we see is similar, but subtle level of reality, perceiving is different. We are not exactly same. That's, I always saying that every individual has a secret world. That's how, even just one family is a person, sometimes a person is very happy, sometimes some people, similar, situation is sad and unhappy. That's all related to the one's own mind. That's how it works, Dharma. If someone's karma and kleshas dissolve it, then their world is changed. So once the way things are in Prajnaparamita teachings describing emptiness. Sometimes we describe sublessness, emptiness and sublessness. And they're describing the fundamental nature of reality is transcend of exist, non-exist. And both neither. Exist is related to non-exist. I'm not going to give the details of this because it takes a little bit of time, If we have to a little bit study some, like Nagarjuna's text, for example, Shantideva's text, for example. It's needed a lot of explanations, but it's mainly check as one's own perceptions, just one's own opinions. It's not always a match of reality. If you just sit here, if you feel, we can't feel the world is speeding. It's just stable. If you look at the sun, as always, sun is just running, right? Those is just example of where things appears. It's not even the relative level. It's not matching where things are. The subtle level of reality is different than what we perceive. And every phenomena, if you take some examples, then like a piece of paper. Example, we said piece of paper. It has a lot of parts. It's not just one thing. This part is not that part is not this. Upper is not lower, lower is not upper. The many things put it together, we call it a piece of paper. That idea of piece of paper, if we give it a name, this thing says piece of paper, then when later we see these things, then say, oh, this is a piece of paper. In Dharma point of view, that's how we labeled every phenomena. It's like this. If you're breaking down, it's this piece of paper, there are many parts put it together, then we give it the name and hold it on, fix it. Then what about the fundamental level of this? That says that maybe atom, the partless particles atom. Even if you break down atoms, then there's no basis, foundations. There's something we can describe it. Oh, that's it, something. We can't say this is existed because you can't find something there. We cannot say it's not existed because it appears something. in the Dharma teaching saying that fundamental level of reality is we can't explain through the words. We can't think about it. If we do that, we are out of the reality. This is where things are. Manjushri sees exactly where things are. It's just as it is. That's in the Paramita's text describing that kind of level of phenomena, understanding. This is basically Dharma realization. One who understands that, that's Dharma realization. Sometimes we say the sublessness, sometimes we describing nature of one's own mind, sometimes we say emptiness. Yeah, it's all describing this fundamental nature of reality. And so we have to understand that level of reality, particularly in one's own mind. Someone realized that and being with it, that is a meditation. That is a really ultimate antidote of the suffering. A lot of Dharma teachings purpose for realize that level of reality. It gives you some sort of large space and joy to this is when we meditate, then you can feel it. A lot of great Dharma practitioners studying that level of reality, and first we have conceptual understand. There's some sort of ideas of this. The conceptual understand of nature reality is not enough. It's good first. It's good at the beginning, but it's not it's not enough. We have to meditate that state. Then this conceptual is transformed into non-conceptual wisdom. That wisdom is, if I can say, ultimate Manjushri. Ultimate Manjushri. That kind of wisdom is a transcend of dualistic perceiver and perceived. Fundamental nature of reality is that wisdom. That wisdom is a fundamental nature of reality. Yeah, that is a really ultimate Manjushri. So that 3 steps: study, contemplate, and meditate, right? We have to study this subject, Manjushri, relative level of Manjushri, and the ultimate absolute point of view of Manjushri. Then just study itself is not enough. I like if you want to become a good cook, want to eat delicious by yourself, then first have to read a cookbook or study a little bit. But reading cookbook, it doesn't mean delicious, food into your mouth. And you have to then actual practice, cook, contemplate. Then when you eat food, then it's benefit. Similar we have to study Manjushri, just relate to this taste, then a little bit contemplate, then bring into one's own life. Try to, real connected, to recognize. So, if we have a little bit experience, then it's transcend of the lot, our mental suffering. Lots of mental suffering. That's how Dharma works. That's how Dharma works. It's very, very helpful, really. We call it profound. Hold the scriptures at your heart. Then Manjushri is Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva care about sentient beings, like a mother's care about their child. The Bodhisattvas look at sentient beings as their child. They don't want anybody in trouble and suffering, particularly unnecessary. We are struggle in the samsara. Just not only one time, 2 times. It's not only one being, limitless sentient beings to suffering in this world. They don't want to see their troubles. And has lots of love and compassion. You love like an only child, all sentient beings caught in the prison of the samsara, overwhelmed with the suffering and the thick darkness of ignorance. Ignorance is like darkness. In the dark, we don't see anything. Similar, our normal this samsaric mind, not seeing the nature of reality. What we perceive something is not a code of reality. That's the Dharma of scriptures describing a lot of things. Self, selflessness. We think this exists in the Dharma teaching, saying that, oh no, what we perceive is not exactly where things are. We have to look a little bit carefully. If you look a little bit carefully, then you will see it a little bit differently. And so, since the Bodhisattva has a great compassion and love and compassion, care about sentient beings. Just not only one beings, limitless sentient beings. As Mahayana practitioner, right, we have to have cultivated that kind of mind. Of course, this bodhicitta is not naturally arising for us, but we have abilities to rising that kind of mind within our mind and our heart. This takes a little bit training. So it takes a little bit time, but we have abilities to cultivate it, bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is part of a positive mind. Bodhicitta, loving kindness, compassion. Another way of saying that bodhicitta is the combination of compassion and love. Someone who has that kind of mind, that person's life is much, much happier. If you have that kind of mental state, it gives positive energy, and it's immediately it's effect in the body, in the mind, positive way of effect. In other hand, negative, selfish, self-centered, angry, frustrated, this mind we called kleshas. When those mind arising, it immediately affect this body. Of course, it's damage, negative damage in our mind. That's how karma, cause and effect. If you study Buddhism, in the karma, karma is not made by the Buddha. He says, this is made rules something. But he discovered some behaviors, actions, makes troubles. That's we call bad karma. Some behaviors, actions, creating positive as a helpful benefit. That we call positive, virtuous action, karma. And similar, when we are studying as the Buddha Dharma, we are studying in self. Self that is mind and the body. Mind is we are studying the positive mental state, negative part of mental state. This is just part of our mind. Some positive love and compassion, bodhichitta, when those arising, that person's life is happier, their speech is softer, benefit, not harsh words or something, and their action will be very, very helpful. A negative part of mental state, we have to dissolve it. Dissolve it through realizing, realizations, cultivating love and kindness and compassion, and to meditate. Later, short abhisheka, we are going to give short abhisheka, and also afternoon we can do a little bit meditate. I like meditation. That's the way of really you can connect it yourself. Yeah, please. In either ways, sometimes they're rising together. Sometimes the bodhicittas first, then realize emptiness. That means directly realize emptiness. And some in the teachings saying that first realize emptiness. If you really directly realize emptiness, then bodhicitta is naturally arising. It's not just separated. It's naturally arising. Naturally arising, love and kindness and compassion. It makes sense. Someone understand natural reality doesn't have much suffering, then many sentient beings don't recognize that and lots of troubles. It makes sense. Rising compassion. I know some Dharma practitioners, when I had a conversation, they cry. Just when they're talking about sentient beings, they just naturally cry. About how there's, it's not necessary, it's just simple, just cry. And it makes sense. Yeah, almost, I think, over, right? We have to stop. No. I think so. Dedication, merit, do you have? Okay. Please, yeah. Okay. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. A little bit higher the level. Right, you can say a higher level of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is high level of realization than love and compassion. And other you can describe is that bodhicitta is a result of love and compassion. And in the Shanti Adishas, 7 point instructions, the cause and the result. The training of the bodhicitta, their love and compassion got first, then rising bodhicitta. Yeah, cause and effect.
Okay, we'll do a short dedication prayer.